Have you been in the market for a rental or even being a landlord? Well, stay tuned. Today we're going to give you some awesome tips, tricks, and advice, so you definitely don't want to miss this. Welcome back to the Jennifer Gale Real Estate Team YouTube channel. We're here today with Jen Smith. She is our do everything member of the team. She's done rentals, she's done commercial, she's done residential, buyers, sellers. She's awesome. She's a pro. That's why I'm asking her all these great questions.
Thanks, Drew. Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so today we're going to talk about rentals.
Yes.
You've done landlords. Like you've put people into owning a rental. You've put people into rentals, like tenants.
Yeah.
Today we're going to dive into the best practices for each.
Okay.
So for advice for tenants to how to maybe make their lives easier, and advice for landlords on how to make their lives easier.
Sure.
Cool?
Yeah.
All right, let's get at it. Okay, so you're a tenant. Well, you're not a tenant yet, but you want to be a tenant. You're, wherever you're living, whatever circumstance you've come across, you need to go find a rental.
Yeah.
Now, my question to you first is, what should they do first? And we touched upon it on previous videos. Are they phoning a real estate agent? Are they looking on Kijiji? Are they looking on Facebook Marketplace? What's the best advice you would have?
Contact a real estate agent. Here's why.
Okay.
A lot of landlords are not responding, or real estate agents are not responding to them directly. And for whatever reason, if you have a realtor on your side, they're responding to the realtors.
Why is that? Because they trust us more?
I think they feel like we probably have vetted the tenant and have someone that we would recommend, as opposed to someone just coming in and going like directly to them.
Because do a lot of landlords not want to vet themselves? Do they rely on us getting the information that they require to say yay or nay?
So both, because there are landlords that would absolutely want to represent both sides of the deal and would vet them. But mostly we get people come to us because they are not getting a response. No one's responding to them in the market, and even Kijiji leads and stuff like that.
Why is that?
Well, a lot of them I think are already rented and they're just not updating their socials and stuff like that. But or they don't have the time.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, so somebody calls Jen Smith. Jen, I need to rent something within a month. I have X amount of dollars to spend, $2,000, $2,500. What do you do with them first? We'll do it two ways, right? So what should they bring to you to make your job easier and their process smoother?
Sure. I'm going to be asking for them to complete an application just so I can see who's going to be living in this rental unit, if they have any pets, and a credit score. Credit score is key. And then I'm also going to ask them to verify their employment.
Okay. So again, I'm not too versed in this. Mm-hmm. We just had a presentation today about credit score and lending and whatnot. What would be a good credit score for somebody wanting to rent that would not, throw up any red flags?
650.
Okay.
Yeah.
What if they're lower, but they make a decent amount of money?
What if they're lower? I'm going to want to look at the credit report to see what's making them lower, to see if there's a story behind that score.
And these are all the things that a landlord would love for you to do and not them.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So then it's just like a buyer, I guess. You get their wants and needs, requirements, how many bedrooms they need, how many bathrooms they need. Again, you'll see who's living there and whatnot. Then you just go out and show them places just like you would if they're buying, but they're renting.
So I'll start showing them, it's easier if the listing is on MLS so that I can just book it directly and speak to a real estate agent. If the listing is not on MLS, sometimes I'll have them just go directly to the person on Kijiji who has it listed. And to me, it doesn't matter, even if they're in a contract with me, to find them homes. If they can find a home directly with someone on Kijiji, that's the ultimate. That's goal. The best solution for the client, right? Like that's the ultimate outcome.
So you're not like you're just a good person, right? You want them to find a place because they need a place.
Absolutely.
Whether you are going to get that pay or not
Absolutely.
is beside, and that's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the way it should be.
Yeah.
Now, is that you will only speculate on this because you're not like this and we're not like this, but some of the out-of-town agents that have rentals listed are really, really hard to get a hold of. Is that because they are looking to get both sides?
I hate to assume, but I think I would infer that. Yeah. Yeah.
So if we call, they probably or may not answer. If a tenant calls, they will answer in 2 seconds.
Usually.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the reality is that there is definitely not a lot that real estate agents are making on leases, and that's just the reality.
Yeah.
So they do make it more worth your while if you can be representing the landlord and the tenant at the same time. But that shouldn't.
It shouldn't be a factor.
No,
for sure. So you go out and you see a few handful of places. They really like one.
Yeah.
What's next in that process? What tell me what that whole process looks like from I like it, I want to try to get this place, to they either get it or don't.
So it's very much the same as a buyer transaction. You are working with a real estate agent. You are going through all the paperwork that you would if you were buying a home, which seems a bit excessive.
Yeah.
And I feel it's a bit excessive, but that's how it is. So you would sign what's called a RICO guideline, and basically that's just a disclosure of what our roles are. And then you're filling out an application if you haven't already done so. And then you're filling out an agreement to lease, which is like an offer. It's very much an offer to the landlord. It has an irrevocable on it. It has the terms. It has your conditions, your clauses, like if there's no smoking, no pets, all those things. You would have a confirmation of cooperation, which is stating who's paying for what. And what tenants need to know is that in real estate transactions, it's mostly the landlord's going to be paying for your realtor services.
Yeah.
And it's usually half a month's rent plus HST. And then if the landlord requires a Schedule B, which just states that you will then have to pay your deposit into their bank account. And so this is the one thing that tenants must know, that first and last month, if your offer is accepted, you're going to have that money within 24 hours.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Even, does it ever happen where you're showing somebody something that may not get rented for another 3 months, or is it always pretty much like, hey, I need to be in here in
You're
2
usually
weeks,
in a 0 to 60 day cycle.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if it's 60 days, you still have to come up with that first and last, boom, right out of the gate.
Yes.
Now, what are some reasons that, let's say the person's credit score is good, mm-hmm. their income's good, what are some things, like a landlord can say no. They can just say no for really, sometimes we think illogical reasons. What would be a reason that you've heard that would produce a no, even though maybe the metrics say yes?
Pets or kids, and also some landlords that are dealing with if there's going to be multiple families living in a space, they just feel it's more wear and tear on their property.
Okay. Now it seems unfair, but that's the landlord's discretion.
It is absolutely the landlord's discretion.
Okay, so you basically have all this paperwork that you would do with them.
Yeah.
They have to come up with that money. Mm-hmm. When does that tenant now just deal with the landlord and you're out?
So it can be immediate if their offer's accepted. What I do is like kind of an introduction email and just say, here's your new tenant, here's your new landlord, here's the contact information. If you have any questions, contact them. It's pretty much a immediate kind of exchange there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So to round up for a tenant, we've probably pieced this together through the multiple answers, but give us like kind of an overall summation of how a tenant can make themselves attractive for a landlord.
good credit score,
Okay.
pay stubs supporting their income.
Okay.
Some landlords will even ask for bank statements to see their spending habits. And I know it feels invasive. Like lots of people feel like it's unfair with what they have to provide. But it really comes down to if you want the place and you want to stand out amongst the other applicants, you want to provide that information. So where were we? Credit score, pay
And
stubs.
so go back to the
Yeah.
credit score. The credit score is something that the tenant would get for themselves, provide to you upon the application to rent, or is that something you're getting? A
No,
landlord's getting?
I'm having them get it.
Yeah, because I mean, okay.
Because then what we also learned is that that is a soft inquiry and it does not impact their credit score if they're getting their own credit report.
Because we learned it's not credit seeking.
Right. Yes. So it's way better for them to get it than for us to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there anything we missed on renting, the tenant side of it? So good credit score. Sometimes a landlord can be unreasonable,
Yeah.
which I guess is their right, but unfortunately that's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have pets or a bunch of young kids, that could be a strike against you, even though you could be the greatest tenant in the world.
Yeah.
Unfortunate, but that's kind of the way it is.
Yeah. So it's a very competitive world out there with landlords and tenants and stuff like that. There's not a lot that are on the market right now here in Woodstock. So landlords can be selective.
Now, if you have a tenant that you've talked to and they said, yeah, I found this really great place on Kijiji, you're going to help them if you need to, but I mean,
What I say is that there is a lot of scams out there as well too. We see houses that are for sale posted as rentals, right? So if they're exploring Kijiji, I'm more than okay with it. And I say to them, like, if something seems unreasonable that you're being asked, run it by me. I'm happy to, look at it and say whether or not you should be providing that information.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's flip it now. You have somebody that comes to you, gives you a call, says, Jen, I want to buy a rental.
So like an investor.
Yeah, an investor. They want to buy a up and down duplex or even just a single family house and they want to rent it. They've got some cash to put down. Tell us what you would present to them or make them aware of, or because you've seen both sides, like you've seen. So what are some things that they should think about before they pull the trigger on something like that?
My experience with investors is that they know their numbers. So they know their margins, they know what they want to make. And so a lot of them actually are coming to us quite educated in that. And so the first time investor though, what I'm looking for and what I'm going to help them with is understand the numbers. So if they're going to buy a duplex, what is that rental income going to generate for them? What are their approximate expenses? Is there current tenants in there that they have to assume what they're paying for rent-wise? Because sometimes it's not at market rate. And so obviously if it's a place that has people at market rate, they're good tenants, it's an easy decision for the most part. They just run the numbers. If it's vacant, again, it's easy because we can get tenants in there for them. We can do that and help them with that service as well too. So it's just numbers. It's not about aesthetics.
So if it's empty, are you telling them if they say, what can these places rent for? Like it's kind of a little bit of heat on you to come up with numbers to make their numbers work.
Yeah.
Right. So
it's very similar though to listing a home because you're running numbers about what is for sale in the area that's similar, right? So you're looking at what's for rent or what's rented out recently for that similar type of home.
So a landlord, they probably have to have a pretty, not open mind, but a strong mind because you can get a bad tenant.
You can get a bad tenant.
And they might go in there thinking that never happens, but they have to watch the news. All you have to do is watch the news for like a day. You'll hear some story about a tenant that won't leave or they're wrecking it and they're not paying, can't get them out. Yeah. Would you probably get them to read a lot of the rules and regulations before they dig into this venture?
They should definitely, like, the real estate transaction is one thing, but at the end of the day, when the real estate transaction is done, they're now the landlord. So they definitely need to be versed in the act, right?
Yeah.
What their rights are, what the tenant's rights are, what they can do. There are a lot of horror stories out there, and this is what I say to them. I'm like, because they're nervous. They are nervous going into this, especially if it's their first one. It's, we've all heard the horror stories, but there is also a lot of good things that have happened. And, there would be no investing if they were all horror stories.
How do you think the horror stories pass the vetting process? I may be putting you on the spot for that question, but I've always wondered, like, man, like, did they not see any red flags in that application and stuff? Like, wasn't there any, like, I guess the landlord and the tenant don't ever meet before you get that tenant, or do
Sometimes they do, yeah. So if I'm representing a landlord, I just did it recently. It was like, let's have a meet and greet.
Like tenant, you, and landlord?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then if there's the tenant's agent as well too, like, we'll all just meet.
Mm-hmm. That uncomfortable?
No.
Or was it fine? It was good?
Yeah.
Okay, so they need to read up on, what they are allowed to do, what they aren't allowed to do.
Yes.
You are going to provide guidance on numbers if they don't know already. If they're buying a vacant place, they've never done it before, they haven't really paid too much attention on rent, you're going to say, well, if you're buying this at $550,000, there's maybe an up and down duplex.
Yeah.
Upstairs, I think, could get X.
Yeah.
Downstairs could get X. Is it best for the landlord to, what should a good landlord provide? Like appliances, obviously, that work. What are your thoughts on washing and drying?
So it all depends on where the landlord's going to be located. Are they in the area? Can they take care of property maintenance? Can they take care of snow removal? What can they offer to these people? Are they in a different city where they need to engage in a property manager? Like, these are all things that they need to consider.
Now, is there negotiation in these applications? Like, so who cuts the grass? Like, could it be either? Could you say, like, okay, the tenant cuts it, but we're going to cut the rent a little bit? Like, does that happen? Yeah.
Yeah.
Same for snow, same for whatever.
Yeah. Most landlords would want their tenants to assume the snow and lawn maintenance.
Do most of them do it? Try?
Yeah.
They attempt to do it?
Yeah. Unless you're dealing with the larger properties, like multiplex apartment buildings, right? They have the property managers who do that for them.
Now, again, we would send people to a mortgage person, but overall, generally, if you're buying an investment property, what kind of down payment would an investor need to buy an income property, generally?
That's a good question.
20? Less? 5? 10?
I think it's just the same as buying a home. Actually, I haven't really encountered that, but from the lending side, so I just assumed it's the same, to be honest.
And you'll get that approval based on, again, we'd have to ask a mortgage professional.
Yeah.
However, I think they will base the rents on you approving for it.
So they'll look at the rental income potential for sure.
They don't assume you can pay for this when it's empty.
Yes. Well, because there can be periods where it's empty, right?
Right.
But yeah.
Okay. And so to sum up, tenants go to you, investors go to you.
Yeah.
You'll help both sides of it.
I will.
Tenants, you want a good credit score. You want, you're going to have your first and last pretty soon after that application goes. If you have to meet the landlord, help yourself out.
Yeah.
I would think, present a good product of yourself.
Absolutely.
Can only help.
Yeah.
Investors, run your numbers. Make sure that you can mentally prepare for what's about to come, because, we've all known tenants that they live like it's their own place. They actually may improve the place over the time they live there. I've seen that happen. They paint rooms. they'll do little renos, they'll keep the grass because they take pride in where they live. And then on the other side, we see tenants that don't.
Yeah, I just got a message from one landlord that I helped last night, actually, and he said he stopped in and the tenants are just making it look really nice, and thank you, because he was like, there's good tenants there.
And is that worth, age-old question? So you have an investor, they want to buy some place with tenants already in. Maybe that rent is a little bit under market value, but they've been there 6-7 years, they pay on time, they make the place look great. Is that worth it for that landlord to be like, you know what, that's solid. I'm not gonna poke the bear here.
Yeah, because I've even worked with trying to find, where there's been local apartments that have just been on the market for months, and the message is the landlord doesn't care. They want a good tenant. They will hold out for the good tenant, and they will also take less for a good tenant.
Yeah. And I've sold a place a bunch of years ago now. It seems like it was pre-COVID. There was a house family was moving into, but over top of the garage they had an apartment, like a full apartment. And I knew what that tenant was paying was underpriced, but she'd been there for 7 or 8 years. And they had based all their numbers on like what that tenant was paying, and the wife was so worried that that tenant might leave because the previous owner was selling it. And I said, well, that'd be actually a good thing.
Yeah.
And I'm talking like it was $300, $400, $500 more a month you could get at that point, because the rents had like kind of exploded in that time period. And it was really hard to wrap her head around the fact that like that tenant leaving would be actually a positive.
Yes.
Like, and I kept saying, like, I hope she's mad that, I hope like, and I mean, you don't want somebody to have to want to move out because they're upset about it, but
no,
don't be worried about that because you could get more money.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.